Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Steven.
And you're watching In Depth.
On Now You Know.
We're going to be covering the June 5th stockholder meeting. Elon did a lot of talking and answering questions, and we wanted to kind of parse into it and get you all the cool stuff that came out of it, because it was just jam-packed with cool stuff.
Yeah, it was.
As always. First thing I want to point out to you guys, if you are a Tesla shareholder, you can attend these meetings, actually. This one was in Mountain View, California, where they often are. And I get asked a lot, like, how do these special people get to do it? You have to own Tesla stock. Even one share will do the trick. And then all you need is a photo ID, and then you bring with you your proof of stock ownership. And if you have any questions, you can contact Tesla's investor relations people. So you can just go there, sit in the room with Elon, and possibly ask him a question, which I think is super duper cool. So Elon was wearing a t-shirt that had a stick of butter. I couldn't, because it was covered half the time, I couldn't really get it. What was he wearing?
Rick and Morty reference, man.
This is the Butterbot?
Yes.
Can you remind me what the Butterbot is? Because I have seen all the shows.
He asked, what is my purpose? And my purpose is to serve the butter. It's just a perfect little, I want that shirt. It's so good.
How many CEOs could pull that off? Talk to an audience of their shareholders and be wearing a Rick and Morty t-shirt. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So then Elon gave a little opener, and he talked about a few things. And the first thing he talked about, he said, this is going to sound cheesy, but at Tesla, we build our cars with love. We really care. Other car builders build with the finance department or the marketing department, and there's no real soul. But we're not perfect, but we pour our heart and soul into the product, and we really care. And I just thought that was really nice to hear, because you could tell he meant it.
He is genuine. Like, he's very honest and sincere, and he cares about the things that he does. Otherwise, why
do it?
Do so many things at the same time?
It's not about the money. So then he pointed out that there will quite likely be 5,000 cars per week by the end of June, and we're talking now just a couple of weeks from now, so that's cool. He said it's been the most excruciating couple of months I've ever had. Now, let's just remember that he's had many excruciating months. I mean, this isn't like the hardest thing. There's been problems at the Gigafactory before. There's been problems with SpaceX almost going under, with Tesla almost going under. So if he's truly saying this was excruciating, that's saying something.
Well, all the things, those were niche market startups. Like, this is now going to the big leagues. So production hell is very much where we stand.
He reminded us that the Model 3 has become the best-selling mid-size premium sedan of any kind in the United States in May. Yeah. So he showed this chart here. It just shows it taking over the BMW, the Audi, the Lexus.
Oh, that's all internal combustion engine cars, not just the ones in its class.
Right. He's going head-to-head with any car. He said the lower-cost, smaller battery Model 3, which a lot of us are waiting for to come out, is going to go into production by the end of this year and will be available to customers in Q1 of 2019. He said the reliability of the Model 3 has improved 4 to 5 times since the beginning of production. We have an early production Model 3.
Number 1,007.
And I don't see any real issues with it. Yeah, so I just want people to, when you hear that and you're like, oh, they've improved it 4 to 5 times, it must have sucked. It didn't suck. It was amazing. He said the Model 3 all-wheel production will be starting this month and scaling up in July and August, so that full production will be going out in September. So if you're waiting for that car, that's your timeline.
Right around the corner.
And he said that they made lots of mistakes with the Model 3 production line. Our biggest competitive strength will be production, he said, which is counterintuitive. It's going to be quite dramatic, he said. And he tried to automate things that were super easy for humans to do and super hard for robots to do. He did that in the beginning, and they've kind of learned their lesson. And I always think of him as being the smartest person, on the planet. So I always think, like, how did he make that mistake?
No one's perfect, man. Like, the bottom line is, if it was a function that's something that you and I could do very easily, and then it's the complex algorithm for a car or a robot to do, the cars are building themselves.
Right. that would be, that's a t-shirt.
Car builds it. Yeah, no shit.
He said that injuries are now 6% below the auto industry average, and they're currently 50% lower than when the plant was owned by NUMMI. So that's huge, and they're hoping to actually get twice as good as that. So that would bring it down to 25% of the injuries of when NUMMI owned it. That's a really low number. He said you can't eliminate all the injuries because we're talking about so many workers.
Again, nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect.
It's going to happen.
But he did say that most of the injuries are, back strains, wrist strains, things that happen when you're doing a task too many times.
Right. You can't have people doing the same process over and over and over again and not expect to strain a wrist or your lower the small of your back or something related like that. So they said they were going to solve that problem by having people be interchangeable in certain functions.
So Elon talked about the next generation or Gen 3 Superchargers, and these, he said, are going to go into production at the end of this year. They're already finishing the design on them now, and he said that there's 9,969 Superchargers as of June 5th in the world. So what can we expect, do you think, from these next-gen Superchargers?
Well, he was pretty clear with one of the commenters that asked that question, like, what can I expect for my 2012 Model S? And the battery chemistries are changing. So the laws of thermodynamics can only go so far. That car is probably not going to see a faster rate of charge. Maybe minimal, but it's not something that you can only do so much with the technology that you're presented at any point in time. So for the newer cars that are rolling off the line, I mean, we already see that direct correlation with the Model S and Model X and the Model 3. The Model 3 charges substantially faster.
That's right. In fact, we've got to do an episode on that because it
Yeah.
really is amazing. We've been noticing
It's
it every
annoying.
time we go to charge. Whether it's a level 2 charge or supercharge, we notice a big difference.
Really do. And that just explains they're just finding better ways to improve their technology and always constantly tweaking things. So it's kind of nice to see that whatever newer iteration of the car that you're getting something that's further improved.
Yeah. All right, then of course it wouldn't be Elon if he didn't talk about things in kind of funny terms. He said from the reign of Ramses II through May of 2018, they have built a gigawatt hour of energy storage. They are planning to do another gigawatt hour of energy storage in
Doubling
less
that.
than a year.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, and that's something that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. It's usually the car, the Model 3. It doesn't seem as sexy to most people to talk about these big bricks of storage, but they're pretty cool what they do. He said that each year will be the same as the accumulation of all previous years in terms of battery storage. And that's a hard thing to wrap your head around. You're going to take everything that was done up to that point, and then in 1 year, you're going to do as much as all of that. And he's going to keep doing that. That's the exponential curve that we've been talking about. He said next quarter at Gigafactory, we plan on making more battery capacity than all other EV battery production combined, including China. You think about like just one of these statements, if a CEO came out, this would be his big statement for the whole event. And Elon that just gets lost.
You're right. That's just a little small, subtle detail that we're throwing out there. It's like,
Right.
We've got the new supercharging coming out.
Right.
We're going to talk about new things of Autopilot. We're going to talk about doubling what we have currently on planet Earth for battery storage.
Gigafactory will be making more than all other factories on Earth. He said it's like epic.
It's like epic.
And then he talked about what it takes to just walk through the existing Gigafactory, which isn't even done yet. It's only like 30% done.
It's a 2-hour tour. So if you're not pausing, I've been there. If you're not pausing to admire everything that's in your face, that'll still take you 2 hours of time.
Think about that for a second, folks. Just walk through your office right now and then come back. How long did that take you? On to another topic that doesn't get a whole lot of play right now, which is solar roof. And that's probably because it hasn't gone onto too many houses yet. But he did say that non-Tesla employees are
Hasn't
now...
left really California.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
It's the first time that non-Tesla employees are getting it on their roofs. And he said it's going through final validation, and it's going to be very big product, and it will grow exponentially.
I mean, it's a roof replacement product. And I think what gets lost in the detail on that is how the longevity. Like, this is a 30-year plus product.
Right.
Most things aren't lasting that long you have your 30-year roof warranties or whatever for any type of roof that you're working with, but
This roof actually makes power.
right, it's doing two things.
Right.
Bird in the hand is where two in the bush.
The energy storage division is expecting positive GAAP net income and positive cash flow in quarters 3 and 4. There's no need for new debt or equity. And that's really important because, as they pointed out, right now they're not quite making money in those divisions, but they're going to go for 20 to 30% gross margins for all of their energy products. All right, so the next thing that they talked about was they put up a picture of the Model Y, the Semi, the Roadster, and what might have gotten lost is that it was an actual side view or quarter side view of the Model Y. Is this, do you think, an actual reveal shot? Do you think this is for real, or do you think they just took a Model X and they just doctored it or something?
No, I'm sure it's a prototype vision, but I mean, he was also clarifying that the semi truck might have a different iteration to it as well, for efficiency standpoint. So
That's
I mean,
a
the
good point.
model this. I'm not getting too excited about this image just now
Okay.
because, I mean, it's not that there was too much of a change between the very first Model S concept vehicle to what we got for production, But I mean, there definitely could be a couple.
If this is what the Model Y is going to look like, I was surprised that it seems to be a much higher and snubber, if that's a word.
Snub.
It has a
Snubber.
it has a shorter snout. It looks like the Model X that has been shortened and not as aerodynamic. It has kind of the Model 3 married to the Model X look to it. Anyway.
Yeah,
I'm just interested in your comments as to what you think that looked like. He said the Model Y is going to be something special. That's exciting because later in the event he mentioned that it may not even have a steering wheel. Now, do you think that's just an Elonism, or do you think that maybe it won't have a steering wheel?
2 years from now, I'd like to think anything's possible. I think it'll still have a steering wheel, but
Maybe it'll disappear. Like maybe
retractable.
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe that would be.
Oh, I thought the Roadster would do that too.
Yeah.
That little Knight Rider thing they got going in there.
Well, we're going to get to that. There could be something like that.
Grip it, rip it.
He said that there's going to be March 2019 will be the reveal of the Model Y, and it's going to be a manufacturing revolution. Production will happen in the first half of 2020. So there's some good numbers for all of us who are waiting for that. And then he said similar production timeline for the Semi and Roadster. So that means a lot of cars coming out a lot of things coming out at the same time, which is going to be cool.
But not motorcycles.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Better than what was unveiled is what he said. There's going to be an improved range on the Semi. The Roadster that was revealed, he said, was just the base model performance. There's going to be a SpaceX option package.
That's what ours.
We're going to have a
Yeah.
SpaceX option package? What the heck is going to be in that package?
The wings will shoot out the sides. You can hydroplane over the ocean.
He said it's crazy. I'm so excited.
Well, if the base car can do 1.9 0 to 60,
Oh,
4.2 0 to 100,
He-
what's next?
I mean, he said this electric vehicle will be able to outperform gasoline cars in every way. He wants to get rid of the halo effect for gas cars, and he said that's important for the general public.
I've already lost that with just the standard Tesla Model S and X.
Right. I kind of didn't know what he's... I mean, yeah, exactly. All right, so here's some big news. Again, it doesn't seem that sexy because it's not like a sexy car, but it's the batteries again. JB Straubel was talking about the fact that they think they have the best price and performance of any battery in the world, and we look hard for it. So he's like, we don't just sit on our laurels and think we have the best. We try and seek out new startup companies. We talk to everybody. If you think you've got a better battery, like, please talk to us. And then Elon said that we can do better than $100 per kilowatt hour at the cell level later this year. Now, for I think a lot of us who don't follow the cost of battery technology, we're just like, okay, whatever.
You should.
You should. That is, first of all, the magic number.
Yeah.
That is the number that pretty much every economist has said that when you get to $100 per kilowatt hour, you will now be able to compete head on and beat the ICE car.
Any segment, any level.
Right. So I want to kind of help you here. If you were like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, Zach. Let's take that number, $100 per kilowatt hour, and let's apply it to a Tesla, 100D. That's a 100 kilowatt hour battery.
Right.
That would cost $10,000 for Tesla to make. And if they can make a car with that big a battery and only spend $10,000 on the battery, that means that they can lower the price of the car or make a huge profit margin for themselves either way. That's incredible because up until this point in history, when you were talking at $400 or $500 a kilowatt hour, that meant that more than half the price of the car was built into this battery.
Sure.
And another just last minute thing on the battery, Bloomberg predicted that by 2023 battery prices would be at $75 a kilowatt hour, and so we're seeing here that first of all that definitely could happen, and it could definitely be that if anyone's going to beat it, it's going to be Tesla. And it looks like they probably are going to beat that price by 2023 because that is 5 years away. So the Gigafactory is going to be done in 4 or 5 years, and it'll be the biggest building in the world, maybe twice as big as the next building in the world, and about a third of it is done right now. And of course, there are going to be more Gigafactories in the future. In fact, he mentioned again that there will be probably 10 or 12 of them. The next one, of course, being in China. And we heard not much new news on this. We know that it's going to be in Shanghai, and we know we're going to get an announcement by the end of next month.
Right.
About more.
And then eventually we'll have one in Europe just
Right.
the next plausible place to do so.
A question came up about Tesla Semi design, and he took a bunch of questions from Twitter. And this one was that in Europe, you've got those flat nose semis because they have length restrictions. And so the question was, well, is the Tesla Semi going to work?
You mean the ones that look like Transformers?
That's the kind I'm talking about.
Those are the best. I wish we had those here.
Yeah, why don't we have
Autobots roll.
Why don't we have flat nose trucks here? Like, why do we have two separate truck designs?
Autobots roll out.
So he answered that basically they're going to come up with, I guess, a new design that would allow them to use the truck in the rest of the world. My big question is, does this mean there'll be one design for the US and one design for Europe, or a design that works everywhere?
I mean, they said they might have a whole nother iteration in general, so maybe it's one that's applicable to both.
But it looks so cool already.
I agree. It's a bullet.
I kind of don't want it to be flat nose, but whatever you come up with, Elon.
I'm sure they'll make it look cool either way.
Right. I trust you guys. There was a question about recycling the cells, and JB said, of course we recycle the cells. We work with partners. We don't want to throw away those materials. The battery pack can be recycled. I think this is an important point to point out because a lot of people who are negative on EVs are like,
oh, you waste all those natural resources.
They're not wasted if you recycle them, and the battery can be recycled.
Well, they're thinking about the early Prius that had a battery that we didn't know where to put it.
Right. There was a question about the cost of Model 3 ownership, including insurance. Elon said that they should be able to get the insurance to get lowered by 20 to 30% than the BMW 3 Series. He said the safety is definitely better, and the total cost of ownership should be significantly better than any other midsize sedan. All right, this one's pretty exciting, especially for those of you who didn't get the AP yet in your cars. There's going to be free trial of AP. This is kind of cool that a company can do this. It's like a Spotify free trial.
Sirius XM on your pickup.
Right. You get it for a week or two, and that is a smart marketing technique, right? You get something for a week or two, and then you can't live without it. So, you're going to get AP. Definitely try it if you don't have it. And I'd love to see in the comment people who get it for a week and then whether you want it or not. The new version of Autopilot will be rolling out this week. So as we're speaking, it should be rolling out to different cars in Elon time. I think if he said this week, it could be.
Weeks.
Okay, we'll give him a week or two. He said it's going to be quite a significant improvement. I was able to drive last night, he said, at 1 a.m, going from highway on-ramp to highway off-ramp using the simplified version of the control system. And I think with some further effort, we can get that out in the next couple months. What you'll see is that the reliability and capability of Autopilot will increase exponentially. All right, big question we get a lot is Model 3 orders. He said that if you were not on the list at all, and this is an important point because a lot of people who aren't on the list are like, well, I can't ever get this car, so I'm not
going to wait
interested.
2 years, so I might as well delay myself anyways.
Check this out. If you're not on the list at all, in 3 to 4 months with the current configuration of the car, you can get a Model 3. If you live outside of the US, he said that's more like 12 to 15 months. That's not that long.
That also lets you know how many people are waiting for the smaller battery pack or for all-wheel drive.
Right. The Model 3 General Assembly, he said there's currently 2 lines, and they're working on the third. In fact, they just started the third line, and that third line is crazy good, which means that it's already making as many cars as the other 2 lines. So that's why he's so confident that they can get to 5,000 cars per week. He said that some stores by the end of June are going to be offering Model 3 test rides, and then he said test rides in all stores in North America by the end of July.
We've already been giving out test drives, but it's nice for the places that we weren't able to get.
That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Service centers. They've been getting way, way better at service centers, but he said there's a year-over-year doubling of service center capacity, and they're creating, get this, Tesla body shop repair locations. Why is this a big deal?
Well, for any of our friends that we know that have had issues with their Tesla getting into an accident, they've not had their car for a while.
Right. And that's because you have to send it to a third-party repair shop.
Most places aren't working with aluminum. They're not specialists in that. So they have to go to a Tesla-approved one, so on and so forth. And if there are more, well, we're in for a good time.
Yeah, he said in the 10 biggest metropolitan areas in the U.S., they are going to have Tesla body shops. They are going to have parts already there. And he said for most things, you could get your car back in 1 day. This is a big question with a very quick little answer. Someone asked him about subcompacts or compact Teslas, and he said, expect a compact Tesla in less than 5 years. Yeah, so I think what's exciting about this is compact cars are typically your cheap end of the spectrum, and they're great for families and college students and so forth. So, I mean, if in 5 years Tesla can come up with a compact electric car, think of how many more people can get into an electric car.
It's your first vehicle for your kid.
Yeah, so the Priuses and the Leafs, like, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
All right, there's a question about Starlink. You know that Starlink is when you cover the globe with 4,000 satellites so that you can have internet coverage, right? And so the question was, will these be usable by your cars? And Elon said, well, it's a pizza-sized box. It's like between a small and a medium-sized pizza box. So he said, I don't think you really want to stick that on a car since we can use Wi-Fi and 4G. Right. So it didn't sound like he was going to use Starlink. There had been a lot of conjecture about how cool that would be. But if you don't need it, I guess, why do it? Get this question a lot. A lot of people say to me, okay, well, I heard that all the superchargers were supposed to be, have solar power and batteries. And yes, it's taken a while to do that. In fact, most don't have solar power or batteries, but he said we plan to have almost all of them have that. And we won't even need to attach most of them to the grid, which he said would be great if there's a zombie apocalypse. He's always thinking about the zombie apocalypse.
You got to.
It's important.
Makes sense.
It could be coming, folks.
Or, robots take over.
He said you can use your car in the zombie apocalypse as long as the zombies aren't too close to the superchargers. Keep them away from the superchargers.
You could use it as a weapon.
Your car?
Yeah.
Oh, like shock them or run them over?
I was going to say run them over, but...
So in a zombie apocalypse, what's your weapon of choice? Tesla Semi, Roadster, X, S, 3, Y.
Semi with a cow catcher in front.
Nice.
Spiked out.
I might go Roadster and just outrun them. And
They're
I feel
not
like
that fast
I feel like you
anyways.
can just undercut them on their feet and they'll go flying.
Fair.
JB talked about the fact that in Australia they've hooked up 50,000 homes into one big distributed power plant, which is being built right now. And again, we don't hear much about that, but that is really cool because that means that that's a kind of microgrid, meaning that they are operating off of the larger grid. In case the larger grid goes down, they're still able to operate. So let's talk about Puerto Rico. Tesla has more solar battery projects in Puerto Rico than anyone else does, and that's combined. That's really cool. That shows how much they care about people because they didn't do that for the money. They did that because they cared about the people.
It's what was needed.
Right.
There are places of the island that look like it just got hit by a hurricane.
Right.
It's amazing that they're there doing the relief that they are.
I know. And it's been how many months? It's been almost a year.
It's why many people are waiting for their power walls.
Yeah. A representative of PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, asked, which has become a typical question at shareholder meetings, but this time is a little bit weird. She said, why is there still leather in the gear shifter and the steering wheel? And I was like, there's a hidden gear shifter in the car?
Yeah, it's under the console. If you know where the two cup holders are, there's a little
leather coated gear shifter.
Yeah, just in case you wanted some other way to.
So Elon responded, there is no gear shifter in our cars, so that's moot, but that some of the cars do still have the option of a leather steering wheel. What Franz pointed out is that you can off menu ask them and they will give you an all vegan car. So even the steering wheel will be vegan leather. And she went on to say, why don't you just make it so that all the parts in all the cars.
I don't agree.
So
I think it should be.
You don't agree with Elon's answer, or?
No, I think. I mean, I can understand it's probably due to a supply chain and speed of getting the cars out. I mean, he wasn't saying, but it wasn't just for Model 3, it was for Model S and Model X. All of them are using leather steering wheels.
And do you think this is because some people just demand a leather steering wheel? Like, I honestly can't really tell the difference between vegan leather most times, so...
I don't care, personally. I think it's more important to do the right thing environmentally. And it just seems like a small adjustment that they can make because they did the leather seats so quickly. They made that announcement, and then that changeover happened. Where in the supply chain are we getting leather steering wheels from that we can't just shift that as well?
That's a good point.
I like Alcantara steering wheels. Those are pretty nice feel to them.
My only thing was, like, I felt like she should have at least acknowledged the fact that they've done so much. Like, basically, all their cars right now have vegan leather seats. They don't have leather seats
It's just
anymore.
like a compromise to integrity, though. It's like, here we are as a company that's at the forefront of sustainability and doing things that are environmentally friendly, and we still have a leather steering wheel.
He did say the Model Y will not have any leather in it, even if it does have a steering wheel.
That's in 2 years' time.
Let's just backtrack there, though. Like we just said,
Yeah.
even if it does have a steering wheel, I
Yeah,
am really
I
excited
know,
about that.
I know, that was cool.
That's really cool. There was a question about energy density, and the question was, when will Tesla get twice the battery energy density? And Elon said twice as much is really tricky. He said a 30%, maybe even 40% improvement in the battery pack he's confident will work and just needs to be scaled up and will be available in about 2 to 3 years. He said it would take about 6 to 8 years for a doubling of the energy density. And the key here, he said, is
lithium
the
anode.
lithium anode. Yeah. So what does that mean, getting all the cobalt and other materials out of the anode and just go to basically pure lithium?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
And we get this question a lot. People are like, well, how about graphene, graphite battery? He didn't address that here. Maybe that's because he's keeping it secret, or maybe that's because they're not working on it. We don't know yet. This is a really cute question. There was a young woman who said that she has worked on an app. I guess it's called like Tesla Attractions. And she doesn't want to compete with Tesla, but she wants to help Tesla. And she said, what should she do? And Elon said, I don't know, interview at Tesla. I thought that was great, like getting people to like come to the company. And he said, we're going to be working on fun, frivolous things that add fun to the experience later this year. So I think they're just so busy right now working on Model 3 production issues. They're not really focused on fun stuff, but the fun stuff is coming. There was a question to Elon about texting commands to the car. When will we be able to do this? And I feel like you pretty much can do that now. You can tell your car to warm up for you. You can summon your car. But Elon went on to say that the app should feel like you're working with a trusty steed. It should be intuitive, and it should be like a mind meld with the car.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is. No, I guess, there's so many people that would like to have Alexa or Siri or one of those, okay, Google.
What will you, so it'll be like Tesla. You'll just say the word Tesla. But I feel like that word's so common, it would just keep...
No, yeah, you say it all the time. It'd have to be something else.
Yeah, it would have to be something else.
Like how Google has OK Google in front of it.
What's the word that we would have to use, folks? Put down in the comments below. Like, it can't be Tesla. That's too common a word to go like Tesla. It would have to be like... Yeah, I don't know. Something...
The OK Tesla or...
Or Rick and Morty a reference or something. Or...
No, I use those enough too. You can't do that either.
There was this question about LiDAR, and the gentleman asked, every other company is using LiDAR. You guys aren't. When is there going to be a showdown? And I think that Elon gave a fantastic answer.
He knocked that one out of the park once and for all for people that weren't paying attention in the first time.
He basically said that if you're using LiDAR, it's a crutch, and it will help you get almost there, but if you rely on it, you will never get there. And I thought that was a great way. He's already played the chess moves all the way out and figured that, yes, LiDAR looks great until you get to the end. Why is it a crutch? Why can't you get all the way to the end with LiDAR?
The difference between LiDAR and sonar is the fact that you don't have the elements coming into play here.
Oh, so LiDAR can't see through like snow.
Yeah, you have snow, fog, sleet coming at you. Your LiDAR is going out the window really quick.
Also, as he talks about, you've got a very limited area that LiDAR can see. So if you're going 90 miles an hour down the highway, like you can't see very far in front of your car.
Exactly.
Right. So, this is... I think he kind of put it to rest. He said that basically they're going to find out that this isn't going to work. Now, he said in the past he could be wrong, but he doesn't think he's wrong. So we're going to find out. Interesting question here. One of the Tesla shareholders had read his Q1 filing reports, which are awfully boring, but he noticed that JB Straubel had been dropped from the report and was worried that maybe JB was going to be like fired or something. And they said, no, that was
generic.
It was just a generic. We just simplified the form. He's not going anywhere. So that's
We
good.
love you, JB.
We love JB, and so do we. So that's great. I was so excited to see that Galileo from Hyperchange was there. You remember that he's our friend, the YouTuber who was able to get on the conference call with Elon.
Right.
And he got a question in here. He asked him about Elon time. What is Elon time?
It's its own little entity.
Its own little time zone?
It was great because he was explaining. He brought it back to his childhood with his brother at the bus stop, having to blatantly give him an inaccurate time so he would make the bus.
That's awesome.
Just to tell him it's 20 minutes beforehand and he'll show up 8 minutes late and now you're going to be there. It's wonderful.
And he said that he's naturally an optimistic person. I'm trying to recalibrate these estimates as much as possible, hopefully being less optimistic over time, which is kind of sad. I don't want him to be less optimistic. He said it pretty much always happens. It's just not on the timelines that I specified. This is something I'm trying to get better at, he said.
That's very human. He's just admitting,
yeah,
well, I'm pretty lofty on my timelines.
Yeah, he said, if I wasn't such a naturally optimistic person, I would not have gotten into cars or rockets. So I'm glad that he is optimistic. All right, this one I didn't know anything about. I didn't know that Elon used to drive a motorcycle when he was a kid. He said he used to
He had a McLaren F1.
Right, but I understand.
It was the fastest car at its time.
Right, but not every sports car driver is into motorcycles. Like,
if you like speed that much to have a car like that, you're going to hop on a bike too.
So, yeah, he said that as a kid, he had dirt bikes, and then for like 8 years, he had a road bike until he was 17 and almost got killed by a truck. Right. So then he said, we will not be making Tesla motorcycles.
Crap.
Yeah, that's a bummer for many motorcycle riders out there, right? Because that would have been a very exciting thing. Do you think he can have his mind changed?
As a enthusiast of bikes, as long as he solves all the other problems, I get it. It's on the low end of the totem pole. Start with what's going to make the biggest environmental impact here and now. I know the bike is more just a pleasure transport for fun, so I'm not too butthurt about it. I'd still like to see it. after you do the subcompact, the tiny car, all those other fun things.
Once all the semis have been replaced with Tesla semis and they're so much safer, maybe we could then build the bike because you wouldn't get killed by a semi-truck anymore. Just saying, Elon. Might have got you at your own argument. There's a question by a young woman who said that her mom, when she's driving along, encounters a lot of automatic emergency braking. And I first want to point out what that is. That's basically your car sees something and basically does the braking for you at the last second. So it's very jerky. It's like, oh my God, we're going to get into an accident. First of all, I want to ask, is your mom paying attention enough? Because that shouldn't happen very often.
I've had that happen only a handful of times.
Right. But whatever.
Yeah.
So she was asking, is there a way to have the AP slow down not so dramatically? And Elon explained that he's got to walk a fine line. What's he trying to do?
Well, you can either have it be completely to the point that you'll never use it because it's annoying. It's at that level that it's just, oh, nope, looks like we might have a problem, so therefore we're going to slow down. And it's just not efficient at that point in time.
So, right. So, I mean, basically, if it's stopping too often, you're going to shut it off.
You're going to hate it.
Which you can do. And if you shut off the safety feature, then it's not there for you.
It's not safe.
Right. And that's the problem we see with AP. A lot of people don't use that, too, because they don't like it either beeping at them
I'd like to see some way to fine-tune it myself. I think that's important.
Oh, like your own little knobs.
Kind of like you have the car length adjustment that you can use.
Right. He brought up this really interesting point, which is that there's a lot of early Model S adopters out there that started getting their cars in 2012 and 2013. He said, you guys should really go drive a new Model S because we're on like Gen 3 or Gen 4. These are different cars.
Yeah.
And I really do think you should because a lot of people out there have never experienced Autopilot and a lot of these cool new features. So yeah, I would just go for a test ride. And then lastly, he said we were overconfident about automation that was possible when we started the Model 3. We relied too heavily on Tier 1 manufacturing automation integrators, and a couple of those things really didn't work out at all. Now we were going to internalize Tier 1 manufacturing and sub out the Tier 2 and Tier 3 only. Kind of high-level talking here, but basically I think, how would you parse this out?
It's getting back to what we had talked about earlier. I mean, it's just certain things that they've made automated that you and I could do, and it's actually more complicated for a robot to do it. So we need to have that fine balance between, do we just have people continue to do that process, or do we try and have this over-engineered process that's not actually as effective or efficient at the end of the day?
Right. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you've watched this late into the show, I want to give you a little bonus. We're going to be announcing something big on tomorrow's Tesla Time News. It's called Be Free. And so I urge you to go check that out tomorrow. I think you're going to like it. It has nothing to do with birds, but
Be free like a bird?
You'll see. Yeah. You'll find out. And thank you for supporting us on the show. If you want to use our Amazon link below, a lot of people have asked me, is that going to cost money? Is that complicated? It's actually so simple, people don't even know they've used it. Yeah. They clicked on it, they bought some stuff, and they're like, I don't think I helped you. You did. If you clicked on the link and you bought something, we got a few extra pennies there. It helps us out a lot. So thank you for using it. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Now you know.